Hello and welcome to our final Trust video of the year. My name is Alanah, editor of the Crime Stoppers newsletter Trust, and today we will be speaking with CEO Hadyn Smith to talk all things Crime Stoppers. So Crime Stoppers has been around since 2009, Hadyn. If people could remember what it was like then and now, what would stand out as being different?
Well, some would suggest that Crime Stoppers is still the same, as it's still from its launch in 2009. Our anonymous pledge guarantee remains, but virtually everything else has indeed changed.
So I assume that it's a bit like looking at the exterior of a new car and that it still looks like the old model. So what has changed in those 14 years?
Well, the most obvious change that our 0800 service, thanks to Vodafone and now One New Zealand, used to use the UK-based Crime Stoppers communication centre to answer all our calls. And around 2014, our comms were brought back into New Zealand. And shortly after that, we launched a Crime Stoppers website with just one general reporting form that was emailed in.
So I'm assuming a few things are a little bit more automated today.
Well, indeed, they are. There's so much, it's hard to refine it down to something little. But in 2019, we launched the first mobile-friendly website that allowed website reporting, and those forms were individually scripted and also allowed what was something substantially different, and that was the uploading of videos, photos, or any electronic files. Now, that was a game changer.
Now that is different. How do you ensure that the person filming on things like personal mobile phones isn't identified?
The system that we use automatically removes the metadata prior to it being passed on to the authorities. So that means no one can be identified, and that's something we want to stress. Our platform is designed so that it can't identify who filmed that and who uploaded it, and that has really changed the ballgame.
In what way?
Well, in 2019, we received 90% of all of our reports from the 0800 555 111 service. 10% came from those web emails. But just 4 years later, we receive around 74% of all our reports by anonymous web form, and only 26% use the 0800 service. We also get around 250 files a month that contain attached electronic files. So that's videos and photographs and everything else. So that just shows the way people are now using their mobile phones to connect. And with that comes films and videos and photos.
And so what else has changed over the years?
Well, I think something that's perhaps overlooked on occasions is that our agents deal with a lot of victims or people that do need some level of support. So they refer many of our callers to some of the support networks that exist in Aotearoa, such as victim support.
So how much has changed around, say, what people used to report and, say, what is reported today?
Good question. In the past, 70% of all our reports related to drugs, and that was mainly cannabis. And that figure, surprisingly, hasn't changed. Drugs still remain the top reported item, but the focus is now on harder drugs such as methamphetamine. And another thing that's, I suppose, interesting to analyse out of everything that goes through our systems is prior to the Christchurch terror attack in 2019, we had never had a report of a terror incident. But since that incident, we have not had a month without a terror attack being reported. And that just highlights the changing focus of the people that are reporting.
So what about successes for Crime Stoppers? We don't hear a lot about Crime Stoppers' involvement in catching the bad guys.
Well, we know that Crime Stoppers has provided the catalyst for some of New Zealand's most successful outcomes across all areas of crime, ranging from homicides to big drug seizures, even proceeds of crime confiscations, home invasions, gang robberies, you name it. In many cases, we don't want anyone to know it was through Crime Stoppers, as it's all part of the anonymous pledge. We don't want people to start guessing and understanding who may have brought that to the attention of the authorities. So most of the time, it's just making sure our anonymous pledge is held up.
So where do you see Crime Stoppers making a difference in the future?
Well, we believe that Crime Stoppers is a very underutilised reporting tool in Aotearoa. Most people will always ring the police when they have to, but when you can't, when you are vulnerable in some way, they need to know about Crime Stoppers.
And when would Crime Stoppers be the preferred way of passing on intelligence?
Well, I see it as mostly around the dark side of crime. If information relates to gangs, organised crime, extreme violence, family violence, home invasions, or even ram raids, people still do want to do the right thing, but they remain fearful of being identified. If they can use Crime Stoppers, they can pass on what they know, but not who they are. The bad guys will 100% never know who tipped the authorities off.
And so, Hadyn, what is your final message to those who may need Crime Stoppers in 2024?
Well, my main message is share Crime Stoppers around. It's not something you need to know or have and play every day, but people may need it in the future, and they need to know that it exists. So with kids especially, this could be the only chance to have the cycle of crime broken. And we want people to do the right thing, share the information, share that Crime Stoppers exists, and speak up safely.
Oh, well, look, appreciate you taking the time to have a chat to me today, Hadyn. Some really useful insights there, especially for those who may have only recently subscribed with us here at Trust. So that's a wrap from us today. Thanks for tuning in and for your support this year. Merry Christmas to you all. Hopefully most of you have some time set aside for a well-deserved break, and we look forward to being back in touch next year. Merry Christmas.